Hello there, gang, and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behaviour, the Earth's mightiest action figure video podcast. So take off your pants, crack a beer, and let's talk toys. Let's talk as told by toys. Let's talk about my genuinely favourite comic book of all time. High praise for Batman and Spider-Man Disordered Minds, a rare crossover issue that came out in the mid-90s, right around the time that Spider-Man was transitioning from the chaos of Maximum Carnage into the even more chaos of the Clone Saga. Thank you so much for Patreon supporters suggesting this very issue. I was like, oh what, you mean my favourite comic of all time? Yeah, I'll do that as told by toys. The only difficulty is finding actual scans of the images online, because this bad boy, you can't get them no more, because of the fact it's a Marvel-DC crossover. This came back in the glory days when Marvel and DC could work together and be the distinguished competition and have fun going back and forth. Nah, not anymore. Disney and Warner Brothers own them, and they're like, nope, not working together, which is such a shame. So you can't get this on Marvel Unlimited or anything like that, because it's a combination of the two franchises. But I got it here, and we're going to go through it. This is a story of just everything that's 90s cool. It's Spider-Man and the Batman versus the Joker and Carnage. What better combinations could you have? And it's written by one of my favorite Spider-Man authors of all time, J.M. DeMatteis, who was just killing it at this point. He was one of those creative forces that kept the Clone Saga from just devolving into utter nonsense. He was like, no, we can still tell good stories within this. God bless him. And then the artwork by Mark Bagley, my absolute favorite comic book artist of all time, at the absolute height and peak of his prowess. I'll say it now, Mark Bagley in 2022, it's not as good as it used to be. And hey, look, the dude is probably just, I wouldn't say resting on his laurels, but he's like, I got this. I know how to make a comic book in good time and still have a decent work-life balance. More power to you. But here, he couldn't have had a good work-life balance. He must have been working his fingers to the bone, creating this visual masterpiece. So let's talk about it. First of all, the comic book cover just says it all. Look at that Mark Bagley artwork. Absolutely gorgeous. The best Spider-Man has ever looked, along with a Batman that I didn't think I would ever see. A Mark Bagley Batman, and boy, he captures the Dark Knight so well. And this is Batman in my favorite kind of version of his costume, where it's pretty much taken from the Burton movies. It's all black with the yellow bat symbol, perfect brooding, hiding in the darkness. That's a very cool Batman. Very exciting start. And you can see that the body of the Batman costume is just a slightly lighter, not even black, maybe a dark grey. So there is a distinction between the cowl and the body. And then I love the little touch he did with the incorporation of the spider web into the bat symbol, combining the two heroes. Such a nice touch, and it only gets better from here. So we open up with Peter experiencing a very common nightmare of his, where he relives or recounts or imagines, I suppose, the night that Uncle Ben was shot. Because of course, he tragically wasn't there at the time to protect him. And in this dream, Spider-Man comes crashing through the window, ready to save the day. And as he pins the burglar to the wall, the burglar's face contorts into this cackling, maniacal laugh, and all of a sudden we see Spider-Man's dreams superimposed into images of Batman's greatest enemy, the Joker. And in classic movie comic book fashion, Peter jumps out of bed with a startled look on his face, and Mary Jane is there. And again, this is that perfect time frame where they're married and they're living together, and it feels like they are building a life that's not about to be retconned anytime soon. And that's really great. Mary Jane offers her support towards Peter, and as he would always do, decides to put on his spider mask and go out for a swing to clear his thoughts. And the appearance of the Joker in the dream sequence is interesting, because this is set in that universe, and I don't know if there is a numerical number for it, but this is the universe where Marvel and DC share the same world. So this isn't really the 616, and it's not the amalgam universe either, which is the 616 technically, because it's the 616, a portal opens up and the two universes merge and make the amalgam universe. That's not the case here. This is a different universe where everything Marvel and everything DC, they all exist together. And by some strange coincidence and happenstance, it just so happens that Bruce Wayne is having a nightmare of his own, recounting the murder of his parents, which sadly, he was there for that, and he got to witness it firsthand. But again, as the nightmare unfolds, elements start to change, and this time, rather than running off into the night, the killer, is it Joe Freeze? Joe Chill. He starts to laugh maniacally as well, and this time, in parallel to Peter's dream, his laugh and his smile starts to contort into the savage, sharp-toothed visage of Carnage. And that is when Bruce Wayne jumps out of bed, just like Peter Parker. I love these two mirroring introductions. And he decides to put on the Bat costume and go out swinging around Gotham City, similarly to clear his mind. And this little opening, this double opening where both stories mirror each other in parallel, I actually really love that. I love that symmetry and synchronicity. And it gives Mark Bagley the chance to just flex his awesome 90s artwork by drawing the iconic scene of that alley, that crime alley, and showing Batman's origin. And then, of course, just doing a beautiful big Batman splash page. This, like I said, this comic is everything that I would want from a 90s crossover. Then we change venues to another staple of JMD Mateus' Spider-Man stories, Ravencroft, where Spidey has gone to join Dr. Ashley Kafka as they are assessing what they're going to do with a recently returned inmate, Cletus Kasady.
I have to say, Dr. Kafka, I love all this attention. You know, when I was a little boy, Mommy and Daddy ignored me. That's why I grew up to be so bad. I'm just a poor kitty who wants someone to pay attention to him. And now that you got me to admit that, I guess I'm cured. So why don't you let me out of here?
Dr. Kafka, being the professional that she is, doesn't rise to Cletus's mocking and goading. Unfortunately, the symbiote is still very unpredictable in the pages of Marvel Comics at this point, and the more Cletus rants and the angrier and more psychotic he gets, the more powerful he seems to become as the symbiote wraps around his face, and as he comes to the end of this big crescendo of a monologue, he bursts out of his containment unit. And of course, Kafka's like, that should be impossible.
But that's what I keep telling you, Doctor. I'm a walking impossibility.
Luckily, the authorities are slightly less stupid in this issue than they were in the Spider-Man annual I covered recently, and the entire security team are on hand, sonic blasters at the ready, and they just smash Cletus with all their heavy artillery, along with a couple of Spider-Man left hooks. That's enough to put down the madman, at least for now. And while Cletus is being once again strapped up, harnessed and restrained, we're introduced to Cassandra Breyer. And in her typically snooty, I'm a scientist who has a plan that won't possibly go wrong voice, she informs Spider-Man and Dr. Kafka that they have a new treatment that they have engineered themselves, which is a neural implant to put into the brain that will essentially lobotomize the person, switching off all of their impulses and desires, and essentially turning them into like a walking, meek, mild-mannered zombie who will do whatever they're told and no longer be a threat to society. Understandably, Spider-Man and Kafka are dubious this'll work. Funnily enough, going back to a classic 90s Spider-Man trope, when it is explained that they are going to essentially lobotomize Cletus Kasady, Peter once again is like, whoa, wait a minute, you can't be serious that you're gonna... And she's like, no, I am serious, and we're doing this, and the US government has said that it's okay. And honestly, thank you, Peter. Stop trying to defend the rights of the mass murderer who every single day that he's alive seems to slaughter more innocent men, women and children. Like, Pete, I know you're meant to be the moral compass, but maybe, just maybe, we need to try some more extreme measures to stop this guy from slaughtering everyone he sees. So Mark Bagley draws Kasady strapped up in this brilliantly nightmarish looking surgical contraption while the surgeons are about to go to work on him, and unfortunately before they do, the lady says something that pretty much guarantees failure. Mark my words, both of you, he's being stopped tonight.
Nothing can possibly go wrong. Possibly go wrong. That's the first thing that's ever gone wrong.
So as the surgeons begin their work, we go over to Gotham City and we find the Joker in a costume I've not seen him wearing before. I don't know, any 90s DC fans? Is this something that the Joker would occasionally wear? I'm just only ever used to him being in the classic purple, but if he's worn this clown jumpsuit before, then fair play, and if not, I guess Bagley just wanted to have some fun with it. Then again, this isn't the classic DC universe, so pretty much you can do anything.
Now I've had some clever ideas in my time, but this one is so brilliant even I am amazed at myself.
And I don't amaze easily.
All I have to do is unlock this itty-bitty cage, send my winged beauties flying out over the spires of Gotham, and then the whole city will be going absolutely batty! Forget it, Joker. Did you actually think you would win this one? That I would let you infect millions of people with the virus you injected into those bats?
So yes, Batman very quickly thwarts the Joker's evil plan and hands him over to the authorities as he always does. And guess what treatment they're gonna try on him? Our old friend Cassandra Breyer once again espouses the virtues of her neural chip that inhibits these psychopaths from their behavior, and not only does she have all of this factual data to back her up, but she has an extremely docile Cletus Kasady in tow with her, so she can go, look, this guy, Carnage, yeah, bing, not a problem. Let's do this to the Joker. And do it? They do. We have a wonderful transition. Again, Mark Bagley, peak of his powers here. Going from the mild, meek-looking face of Cletus Kasady to the strangely, almost creepy, mild, meek face of the Joker, who now has this neural chip in his head and has been completely neutered, essentially. And now she is parading the two of them to this press conference, just going, oh, hey, look, the two worst psychopathic killers in the world? Yeah, fixed. You're welcome, planet Earth. I want to see the Jokers and Carnages remade into functional members of society. I want the people of Gotham and every city in America to no longer fear the night. Now they say pride comes before a fall, and this fall is pretty rapid. In the car on the way back from the press conference, we've got Cassandra in there along with the Joker and Cletus. The chauffeur's driving when all of a sudden a symbiote tendril punches through his chest and Carnage is sat right there next to them. Who would have thought the symbiote didn't take kindly to her mental interference? Carnage starts ripping apart everyone in the car, and really interestingly, you see the Joker looks terrified, so we know that he is still under the influence of this brain chip, and it's so weird seeing the maniacal Joker looking scared of what's happening around him. So Carnage goes to make off with the Joker and Cassandra in his arms, but luckily for them, they do have a Dark Knight in shining armor. One of the security detail reaches up and rips off the latex mask covering his face, and it is Batman. The only thing that I will say for this, and give a little bit of artistic license, is this is a security guy in like security armor, uniform, and a gun. He pulls off a latex mask, and suddenly it's Batman with the full cape and cowl and everything, and I'm like, that was a really good latex mask.
What have we here? The legendary Batman disguised as one of the guards. Guess I'm not the only one who was playing a role today. You've been watching me ever since the moment I set foot in Gotham, haven't you?
Let Breyer go, Carnage. She wanted to help you, give you a second chance. If it's blood you're looking for, come after me. Come after me! And as Batman proclaims that, we see the wonderful transition of the panels back to his nightmare and how Carnage featured in them. Again, chef's kiss storytelling. And before Batman can even lock up with Carnage, a web shoots down and Spider-Man yanks Cassandra to safety.
Oh, what are you doing here?
Oh, I don't know, I guess I kinda missed you. Those eyes, those lips, that sweet, sweet smile.
You've spoiled my fun once too often, Spider-Man, and tonight I'm going to—
You'll do nothing!
I gotta say, Spider-Man and Batman are making a pretty badass combination here, with the lighter approach and the more jovial attitude of Spider-Man, with the badassity of Batman. I'm so here for this. And again, it's so weird seeing Joker being all timid and scared. Don't let him get me! Please! Don't let him get me! So Cletus realizes that maybe this isn't a fight worth contending with, so he does his classic distraction technique of injuring as many people as possible, firing out his symbiote tendrils and little darts and daggers and spears, injuring as many folks as he can. Therefore, Batman and Spider-Man have to be distracted, go and attend to the injured people, while Carnage takes hold of Joker and swings off. So after tending to the wounded, Batman and Spider-Man reconvene and discuss what's just happened and what they're going to do going forward. And unsurprisingly, Batman's not looking for a partner.
I want you gone, now. Excuse me? Gotham isn't New York. She has a unique personality and unique dangers. I don't want you getting hurt. And I don't want you getting in my way.
I'm not here to get in your way. I'm here to help.
I told you, I don't need your help. Or want it.
Well, like it or not, you're gonna get it. Great setup with the two heroes kind of at loggerheads. I know that it goes back a little bit to the 90s heroes being stupid, which is a bit of a trope we get sometimes where it's like, come on guys, just work together. We're dealing with two maniacs here. But I appreciate I'm not that familiar with Batman, and maybe just downright insisting that he works alone, that might be well and truly in his character. But again, different universe, so all bets are off. But we're not going to dwell on that for too long, because now we have a scene that still, it's kind of icky for me even now. We go to a warehouse where Cletus has taken the Joker, and he explains how the symbiote instantly neutralized the neural implant that was put in his brain. The second they put it in, it was gone, and he was playing possum because he is a big fan of the Joker, and he wanted the chance to meet one of his favorite celebrities. So in a moment that still makes me cringe, Carnage allows a little thread of his symbiote to go up the Joker's nose, into his brain, and destroy the neural chip in his head. And it's a great little scene of panels showing this happen, and a wonderful transition of the Joker kind of shell-shocked of having this symbiote tendril up his nose in his brain, and then suddenly concussed and distorted face transforms into the maniacal, terrifying laugh of the Joker. And instantly, they don't seem to get along too well. This is really kind of funny and interesting because we've always seen Carnage and Cletus Kasady depicted as this just psycho, terrifying serial killer who just wants murder. And now we actually get a scene where he's fanboying out. He's so excited to meet the Joker. And one thing he's about to learn is, don't meet your heroes, because the Joker is not interested. He's like, oh, I like your smile, but that's about it. He's like, well, I'm gonna go do my thing now, and Carnage is like, no, wait, I've got a plan. And the Joker's not interested, and you think, there's trouble in paradise already.
Oh, what am I getting upset about? This is the reason I wanted to hook up with you in the first place.
It is?
You get the joke.
What joke?
That life is utterly meaningless, totally absurd, and madness is the only sane response.
Oh, that joke.
Joker, my friend, we belong together.
Please, you'll make me blush. And we go over to Batman in the Batcave, and again, it's just so cool seeing Batman in the Batcave, drawn by Mark Bagley, looking at files on Carnage. It's that great kind of crossover that you never sort of expect to see. And Batman's pondering to himself, like, I've fought maniacs and psychos before, but why does this guy, in brackets, because even Batman won't admit it, scare me? Fortunately, to lighten the mood a little bit, and something that I like about Batman that we don't always get to see very much, is Alfred comes in to lighten the mood. And even in this grim, dark setting, we can still see Batman and Bruce Wayne, the two sides of his personality, actually interacting. And that's my favorite moments of Batman, when he's Batman, but Bruce Wayne, and he's talking to Alfred like a friend, and they have a fun exchange.
Finger sandwiches?
Is there a problem, sir?
Do you remember what I used to do with your finger sandwiches when I was a kid, Alfred?
Indeed I do. I spent 3 days plunging that toilet.
Exactly. I'll pick something up while I'm out.
Try the Happy Meal, sir. I hear it's simply exquisite.
Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
Then we see Spider-Man swinging through Gotham City, another weird mashup that I love. And as he always does, he seems to have this sixth sense for spotting trouble. Some poor lady's getting mugged in an alley, and Spidey swings in to save the day. And once he does, Batman is right there. And think someone's about to eat some humble pie. Or some humble finger sandwiches.
Get in. Please.
Now the plot really starts to thicken because we go over to the Joker and Carnage and we see that these two psychopaths are completely different types of psychopaths. And this marriage, it's not going to work out. You see, the whole point of Carnage is that he wants carnage, destruction, chaos, whereas the Joker sees himself as an artist. He loves nothing more than creating these elaborate, intricate plans that then unfold in horror. He and Carnage's different brands of murder couldn't be more different.
Stupid plans, stupid man. So you spread your little plague, and then the people of Gotham start to go insane, and eventually die slow and horrible deaths. What a monumental waste of time. The fun of killing you, moron, is the immediacy. In hearing them plead for mercy as you stand over their bloody bodies, peeling off their skin.
Ugh, how literally distasteful. And gross, too. I'm not sure if the face-removing Joker from the New 52 would have thought that. So the Joker decides that he's had it with Cletus Kasady. He quickly exits from the safe house where they're in, leaving Carnage with a very handy bomb that he had previously planted. And with the click of a button, Joker says, "Well, that's all, folks." Now Batman and Spider-Man are in the Batmobile, driving around Gotham, trying to look for a lead or a clue. And they have a really interesting exchange that I dig this so much. When you call on comic book lore and how the different stories and histories of each character in the universes interact, this is beautiful. I love this exchange.
I need the benefit of your intimate knowledge of Carnage, your first-hand experience with him.
Yeah, well, I can understand why you would need to turn to me for help. I mean, most of the guys do. Captain America, the Fantastic Four. I keep waiting for Superman to call, but he... And at the mention of Superman, Batman just flashes a scowl to Spider-Man that would turn his blood cold. And that's a great little character moment from Batman where it's like, this dude, even when just drawn on a comic book page, you know it is conveyed that when he throws a death stare at you, you shut the hell up. And I don't know, because I'm not that familiar with the DC, that is this set during the time where Superman is dead? From the fight with Doomsday? Because if that's the case, then that makes so much sense that Batman's like, dude, you do not invoke his name. Or I think Superman might have come back by this point, in which case it's simply a case of Batman being like, stop pissing about. It was just a little joke, sir. So our heroes discover the burning wreckage and rubble of the Joker's safe house, and when they start exploring through it, they discover the mangled body of Cletus Kasady with the symbiote draped over him. And Batman, kind of unsurprised, he says,
"It appears he was no match for the Joker."
And this is where Spider-Man kind of gets a moment to shine. He's like, nah, I've seen this before. And they relate it back to the Maximum Carnage incident, where I kind of like that, where Batman, he wasn't there for Maximum Carnage, but in this universe, he was aware that it happened, where Spider-Man explains that previously Cletus had faked his own death by finding a corpse and wrapping the symbiote around it to make it look like he had perished. That's where Batman's like, yes, the Maximum Carnage incident. I kind of dig that world building. Of course, they can't pat themselves on the back for too long because Carnage was waiting for them and instantly attacks our two heroes. And as his tendrils wrap around Batman, Bruce Wayne has flashes back to the death of his parents and the psychological scars. And it's so interesting how in this story, the presence of Carnage, the look of chaos and the way that he appears wrapped in blood, like the blood of Bruce's parents, it really psychologically affects him. And Carnage is able to get the better of Batman. But of course, there's someone who's not happy about that. Sorry, Chili Con Carnage. There's no way I'm going to let you kill him or slice and dice your way through Gotham. This is my town and my Batman. Mine alone to play with for the sheer intoxicating fun of it. So Joker, out of spite, really, is about to release this virus that we were kind of introduced to at the start of the story. And in another interesting twist, we see Carnage panics because, as I mentioned in my previous As Told by Toys, check it out, the one thing Cletus is most afraid of is death. The whole reason he kills so many people is because he's terrified at the prospect of dying himself. So he wants to kind of right these karmic scales somehow by delivering so many people to the Grim Reaper that when his time comes, he can say, no, you can't take me. Look at what I've done for you. So the prospect of the Joker actually killing him starts to make him absolutely panic, and the symbiote starts to shake and wear off. And that's where Batman can escape from his clutches and Spider-Man can take his fight to the Joker. And we get a couple of fantastic fights here. First of all, of course, Batman throwing down with Carnage. What a dream match. And we get this wonderful monologue from Batman as to why Carnage affected him so much, because it reminded him of what it was like to be this child, this helpless, defenseless child, and see his parents murdered before him.
The man beneath that symbiotic shell isn't a common street punk, and he isn't some dark god come to claim me. In the farthest corners of his scarred psyche, Cletus Kasady is just a scared little boy. I guess that's true of all of us. But with a little luck and a little grace, some of us grow up to be men.
You know what? Normally, I would call BS on a non-superpowered human being being able to beat Carnage in a fight, but honestly, this is Batman. I'm okay with that. And Spider-Man, in his pursuit of the Joker, has his own kind of come-to-Jesus meeting, where he goes through a moral dilemma as well. And again, we get some incredible character development and evolution from Spidey.
The only way to stop a sneering animal like you is to kill you.
Then go ahead, do it. It'll be hilarious, don't you think? A goody two-shoes like you, murdering a stinker like me. Come on, I dare you! I double dare you!
What am I doing? Dear God, what am I doing?
Too bad. I thought he had the makings of a decent lunatic. Oh well. Once I unleash my virus...
Sorry, Joker. I can never kill you or anyone. You see, I've got an example to live up to. A faith that I'll never betray. That may not be very funny, but it's true.
And with the villains defeated and our heroes standing triumphant, let's go to the epilogue.
Joker and Carnage have been safely locked away. This should be the time for sighs of relief, mutual congratulations, maybe even a celebration. Instead, two weary heroes stand in awkward silence, unsure of what to say, what to do, how to mark this momentous event. In the end, the simplest gesture proves the most eloquent. Under the light of the Gotham moon, a friendship is born, and even if these men never meet again, it's a friendship that will survive and thrive, as long as the legends of Spider-Man and the Batman endure.
And folks, that does it for Spider-Man and Batman: Disordered Minds. What a great comic book story that was. I'm so happy that I got the chance to reread it once again. Guys, what are your favorite comic book crossovers? Something that isn't so common anymore that I really dig every time I read these old ones. Is it Justice League and Avengers? Is it X-Men and Star Trek? There are so many to choose from. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And thank you so much to my Patreon subscribers. It's through the Patreon that these episodes as Told by Toys come from. So if you want to nominate a story for me to do in this Told by Toys format, then you can join the Patreon, send me a message, and tell me what story you want me to cover in my own unique, slightly ridiculous kind of way. So guys, thanks very much. If you enjoyed this episode, then be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. And until next time, keep displaying model behavior.